Welcome to Gardening with Lucy. I'm so glad you joined me today in a different part of my garden. We're not in my vegetable garden, we're in another part where we have a lot of shrubs and trees and grass. And I wanted to talk today about garden design, so I invited my very good friend and colleague, Nan Simonson, who's a garden designer. She has done many gardens in Riverside, are award-winning gardens. So I'm very excited to have her come and teach us about good garden design. So Nan, tell us, what are the basic things that we need to be thinking about when we're going to be doing garden designing?
First thing you're going to do is decide what kind of theme you want. If you're going to stay with what you've already established, or if you're going to create a new kind of a theme, like a Japanese garden or a succulent garden, then you're going to want to graph the size and shape, just roughly, because by doing that, when you're deciding on plants, you're going to be better able to place them, but not only that, to size them to fit ultimately, because when you put a plant onto a graph, you put it on with its full size, not the size of the plant when you put it in a pot, which can be very misleading. In addition to that, then you think about focal points and vignettes. In that area, where do you want the eye to go? Are you going to have paths and seating areas? Are you going to have a piece of garden art? So you consider that, then you choose plants. And when you choose plants, you choose them based on size and shape. That's why it's so important to understand what you're getting and understand its ultimate size, its growth pattern, its blooming time, its maintenance needs. So when we're thinking about plants, we think of color, we think of size and shape, we think of what it's going to take us to maintain it. Some things like topiary take constant maintenance. Some things only need to be handled once a year, and some things never. You just let them do what they're going to do. In addition to that, you're going to be looking at light and maintenance needs, as well as water needs.
Wow, that's a lot to consider. I've noticed that in many gardens they'll have different contrasting leaves and all that. How do you work with that?
Good point. When we're at the planting phase, or we're designing the plants into the scheme, we're looking at contrasts like fine leaf texture, larger leaf texture, vertical accent. Some things are deciduous, and the branching of that plant can be really a focal point. Right. Some shrubs have branches that are colorful. And when they're deciduous, those branches become a major focal point in the garden. So we're looking at keeping the interest even when the plants aren't in flower, because of colors of leaves, as well as shapes, sizes, and the style of the leaf. And then, of course, the blooming time, you can really have a lot of fun with that, because there are some plants. For example, you have one over here, Tagetes lemonii, they call it Mexican marigold, that blooms in the winter, dead of the winter, deep rich gold. Then you have another that blooms that same color, but in the summer and the fall. And so you can keep color going throughout your garden all year long by taking in these considerations. I will mention that most of us begin our gardening experience not knowing any of these things. And so when somebody tells me that they're going to start working on a gardening project, the first thing I'll recommend is that they get the Western Gardening Guide from Sunset, because it outlines the size, shape, light requirements, watering requirements, and maintenance requirements, all those things I just mentioned, for every plant you're going to find in this area that's going to do well in this area, so that we don't make the mistake of putting in something that at planting time is 10 inches tall and wide, that ultimately will become a 20-foot shrub.
Oh my gosh.
That we're fighting. I see that all the time in gardens of people who mean well but just don't have the experience and didn't have that knowledge.
Right. Another thing that I like about the Sunset Western book is they have different topics. Like if you decide you want to just think about trees, or if you want trees that attract birds, if you want a succulent garden, if you want, they have a lot of different examples to give you an idea. So it's not just an encyclopedia of all the different kinds of plants, but it has special topics that you can
On
look
that
at.
note,
Yes.
we're sitting in an area that is shady right now. Now, it's going to have the afternoon sun, which is the hottest sun. So even that needs to be considered, because in the summer when the sun is straight up, afternoon sun is bright and searing. In the fall and the winter, sometimes areas that are to the north of a building get no sun at all because the sun is low in the horizon. So even those things need to be considered. It sounds complicated, but those are just things that if we can take a look at an area, look at its aspect, north, south, east, west, we can come up with sort of a vision of what's going to happen throughout the year. And the reason I brought that up is to continue on that subject that you were on with this book. It even has areas that give you the best plants for shade, the best plants, for example, a pool area, those that don't attract bees, the plants that will give you fall color, those that will give you summer color, on and on.
Oh, this is really exciting. You've given me some things to think about, and as it turns out, I actually have an area in my garden that I'd like you to look at and help me with. Would you be
what
willing to
fun.
do that today?
Oh, I'd love it. That would be a lot
All
of
right.
fun.
So let's go out and look at this part of the garden, and you can give me some ideas, and if you have a little time, we can even plant it.
All right.
All
Got the
right.
right shoes on, we can do
Okay.
it.
Come on up. So Nan, you know, we originally planted this area about 5-6 years ago, and now look at it.
Okay.
This
All right.
area, a lot of the plants died, but as you can see, there's some on either side that are still around. And I've often wondered, what do I do in this area to kind of give it a pop, to make it interesting? And tell me what you think I should do here.
Okay. Well, you described the size, the shape. I sort of grafted it, looked for some plants that we could put in that would accent what you've got and the colors that you have. And I'll show you what I've come up with.
Okay,
Now,
great.
you mentioned that you had a accent piece, and I'm going to work that in as well, and I think I'm going to start with that. But there's something here, this little grass, that I couldn't fit in. Do you mind if I take it
Well,
out?
I'll take it out. I'll
Okay.
take it out. All right. So you don't like this little grass
Well, I
here.
like it, but let's put it somewhere else.
And I could save it and put it somewhere.
Oh,
I'm not
absolutely.
killing it. Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I'm going to go all around and get it so that I don't hurt the roots completely.
I'm sorry.
I like this little grass, but you don't think it belongs in any
Oh,
place here?
I like it too. And we may put it somewhere else, but just not there.
Okay. So I'm going to just set it kind of out here. How's
Okay.
this?
All right. Now, this is what I was thinking. When I looked at this area, I realized that you have a privet here that looks like it's failing. I'm not sure how much longer it's going to last. So I've chosen some plants to contrast with what you have. Purple here, the golden yellow looks terrific. I have a salvia that the hummingbirds will love, that also contrasts beautifully with the color of the lantana. Now this lantana is going to fill this area. I'm setting this one slightly forward, even though normally I would put the higher ones behind and the shorter ones in front. This is going to fill in and get about 3 foot tall, and this is going to be very airy and wide. And then I'm looking at something that will become large enough that when this starts to fail, this can fill in. If you don't mind, I'm going to trim something back so that, there we go. This is a great plant, and it blooms a sort of a corally orange, which is beautiful and fantastic. All right. And then, so that we get a little bit of interest, let's see. I'm going to move this one here. And that's the other thing. Regardless of what it looks like when you design it, when you draw it in, the eye is the most important thing. And let's add a little bit of contrast and put silver. And I use this a lot for silver. Is there another one?
Right behind there.
Ah, thank you. And now what this is going to do is flood this area with white. So when you walk by at night, you're going to see the area lit up. And then we have a sedum. Now this is Sedum Autumn Joy. And the fun about the sedums, especially this one, is that they go from, and I'll let you pick that up. They go from chartreuse to pink, and then later in the year they go to a paprika color. Absolutely
Wow,
fabulous.
I would love
You
that.
cut them down once a year and it keeps them full. So we're going to put them, let me move this over a little, we're going to put them in this corner. Now one of the things about the sedums, when you first buy them, there we go, is that the stems sometimes break off. Well, you can plant these because like most succulents, the stems will actually start to root. So you can put these in the ground in another area and you'll have plants in another area or in
Good.
this area, but I think you've got enough here. So let's move this over a little, and these are going to fill in this foreground in front of this mallow. The mallow's not in bloom yet, but when it is, you're going to have a wash of sort of a lavender purple here. These will be paprika. You've got this beautiful fuchsia. I'm going to pull this back, a background of gold, and then the flax giving you a contrast. And then this is called polygala, or gosh, some people call it butterfly bush, but it's one of many that people call butterfly bush. And this is going to give you purple almost all year
How
long.
tall will that butterfly bush?
A lot of people keep it at about 4 feet, 4 to 5 feet, but you have this in the front of your house, I saw it, and it's 6 foot tall. And that's why this will be a perfect foil for this. As it fades and ultimately you take it out, this will become a background plant. But in the meantime, while this is still acting as a space saver, this will be small in contrast.
You know, it occurs to me that maybe this one we could plant somewhere else.
Well, this is status, and actually I'm enjoying it here. I think it looks great. What's going to happen is, this is called Roselia. This is going to keep falling forward, and you can even pull it forward a little bit. And as it comes forward, this is going to give you a fountain effect. The status is going to be cut back, and if you look at it, when it's cut back, it's just a green leafy plant, but this will fall forward. And this, another one of the plants that you already had, is called Nepeta, Nepeta Fascinii, which is cat mint, not catnip, but cat mint. This spreads, so this is going to spread, and these two are going to run into each other. Do you like that?
Yeah, I like that effect. I
But
was
you're
just
feeling
thinking
that you
this
might
was
want to move
a
this?
little small, and I was just thinking sometimes the flax gets really big.
This one is a medium grower. It's not going to
Oh.
become the
So it's
6
not like
footer.
the
No,
giant
no.
ones.
This one will stay at about
Okay.
3 foot.
See, that's why it's important to know the size of what you're getting.
Helpful, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Let's look back at it.
Do you like it?
Yeah, I think this is going to be really, really nice and fill in this really bare area. Now, what about the garden art?
Well, you tell me where you see it. I'm thinking just behind the flax, because when the not the flax, the status, because
Okay,
when
let's try it there.
Okay.
It's nice because you can move it around until
Yeah.
you've decided.
And this can kind of flow around it. So we have something that's movable, that can be softened by what you already have, but can be an accent piece when this doesn't have the volume it has right now. Do you like it
Boy,
there?
it looks really nice with the sun on it right
Doesn't
now,
it?
doesn't it? Yeah.
You happy with it?
I kind of like that.
Well,
yeah.
then let's get planting.
All right, let's get our hands dirty.
Lucy.
Wow.
Here's your garden.
This looks fabulous. I'm just really, really pleased with the result. I noticed that we put mulch on at the end. Why is that a good idea?
Because it stabilizes the soil, it keeps pathogens, germs from coming up when you water and splashing up on the leaves. Some plants are sensitive to that. It neutralizes temperature changes between night and day, so the soil stays more evenly, the temperature stays more even, and it keeps the moisture in.
Wow. So, and
it looks good.
I like the way it looks too.
Yeah,
Yes. Because it makes it feel complete to me
Uh-huh.
with the mulch on it. So just go over real quickly again the design elements that we were talking about earlier, and
Okay.
then maybe just point out what you
All right.
see that matches
So
that.
we needed to know that your water-wise garden was, the integrity of that was going to be maintained. These are all water-wise plants.
Okay.
You also have a habitat here. You have things that draw in butterflies and birds. You have that here. Hummingbirds love the salvias. The butterflies love the lantana. You've got bee-loving, or the bees love polygala. So you have, and you've got, again, those design elements like the consideration of leaf color, size, texture, accent. The sizes are going from shorter to medium to background, sort of infusing themselves into the other plants but still being tall enough to see it, to your focal point plants. And you've got a well-balanced garden here. It's going to take a little bit of care. When that Artemisia throws its arms out, you'll just clip back those
all right.
few little branches that go too far into the paths, even though that softens the path. And when the salvia blooms and the flowers are dead, if you simply snap them off low to the next set of leaves, you're going to get a more full plant and ongoing blooming. And cut back the status when it's finished, and all of this will grow forward. I think you're going to have a beautiful garden year-round.
Me too. Now, do you think of this as a low maintenance, medium, or high maintenance garden?
Low maintenance, because what you do seldom. You're not going to be out here as if you were working with roses. And it's more seasonal. What you do with it will be more seasonal. So low to medium, you can't ignore it, because when the sedum goes into paprika color, it will be like that all fall and into the winter, but there'll be a point at which it starts falling over. You just cut it back. And when you cut it back, again, the roots will go into the ground, the top will get more full, and it will have the structure to send up this height again next year.
Oh, awesome.
What you have here is ongoing, it's a sustainable garden and environmentally friendly.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So we have a new garden area, but it's existing with the rest of the garden.
It blends.
It blends in really nicely, and now I will be happy when I bring people through that I don't have this big bare spot in the middle of my garden.
Yeah.
This looks so great, and I'm hoping that in your garden you can do something like this. So let's review some of the things you're going to want to consider. First of all, you're going to want to consider your theme. You could have a Japanese garden, you could have a succulent garden, you could have a more natural garden like what I have, but the design principles are always going to be the same. First of all, you're going to want to know the size of your space and graph it out. You're going to want to know the watering needs of your plants. You're going to want to know things like color that you would like to have in the garden. You're going to want to know texture, contrast. You're going to want to know all these things, including the sun and shade parts of the area, so that you're choosing plants that can take either a lot of sun, or if it's a shady area, make sure you get shade-loving plants. So I'm hoping that you will be able to apply these design elements to your own garden and choose whichever kind of garden you like and apply them. So this looks so great today. I'm going to take a picture, and I'm hoping that you'll join me again on Gardening with Lucy.